Pew data demonstrates that the majority of unmarried women in America are not on the dating market. They're not looking for marriage, a serious relationship, or casual sex. I thought I was strange for not wanting to date at almost 28, but other women felt the same way. I'm 29, I feel no need to date, it's everyone else in my life saying, "Oh, why don't you go out and date? You need a partner, it's like my life." I like my life, as it is most couples in my family are unhappy married. Why should I sacrifice my happiness? I'm glad about this delusional person. I'm 50, divorced for 10 years, and have been single for 20. Dating is too much work for so little payoff. Casual sex would be nice, but they pump 3 times and they're done. I have more fun by myself. I can see myself being single and alone for the rest of my life. It's not by choice, lady. Nobody wants you, and here's why: I'll never date again. Because I'm not taking care of another person, and they'd just end up effing me over anyways. I've never been with a man who loved me. I spend all of my time and energy on my 2 teenagers. It's hard to find a non-loser. I haven't read this far down, I'm nailing it a douchebag above my pay grade. Or just a good person who listens. The bar is on the floor, and it's still hard. No, the bar is way up there. You're holding it up, it's just you can't compete with the women half your age. You know, gynocentrism has made sexual empowerment. Women are handing it out like candy. It doesn't take a ring anymore to get it. Let's get into the nearly half of us adults, and a majority of women say dating has gotten harder in the last 10 years, and these graphs don't look good. 67% don't cope well, while 33% believe they do very or somewhat well. Yes, we no longer adhere to traditional gender roles and norms that used to make it easier to find a good partner. With gynocentrism exploding in the last 30-40 years, and so-called empowered queens all over the streets, masculinity has burgeoned. 15% of American adults who are single and looking for a committed relationship or casual dates say they are dissatisfied with their dating lives and that it has been difficult to find people to date, according to a 2019 Pew Research study. When single and looking for men and women report equal levels of dissatisfaction. Women report more negative experiences than men. Most single women dating 65% say they've encountered at least 1 of 6 harassing behaviors asked about in the study from someone they were dating or had been on a date with, such as being groped in a way that made them feel uncomfortable or stories being spread about their sexual history. The pattern holds for all women and men, whether they're on the dating market or not, except we're not talking about the 80/20 rule, where most women on the market cycle through the top 20 of the same men. So most single men aren't getting any action, and most women are getting pumped and dumped. So of course, they're dissatisfied and sexually aggrieved. Men, when asked why dating has been harder in the last 10 years, women are twice as likely as men to cite more physical and emotional risk. Men are more likely than women to cite technology as a reason. 47% of Americans say dating is harder than it was 10 years ago, while 19% say it's easier and 33% say it's the same. If you rate someone based on attractiveness, you can accurately pinpoint how attractive they are. When Tinder hit the scene, everything changed. If it's about the same, you probably fall in the middle of attractiveness, so you still have the same options. If it's gotten harder for you to date, it's because you're probably at the bottom of attractiveness. Remember, 80% of men are essentially invisible to women. Boys, if you are a Donny fan, you ain't understanding it, oh my gosh. And it says percent wouldn't consider being in a committed relationship with someone who lives far away. Would not 51, of course, yep. If you voted for Donny, you're about 50-50 guys. If you have a ton of debt, 50-50. Long distance 50-50 is raising children from another relationship, is 10 years older than them, is a Democrat. If you are a Democrat, you would not consider being in a relationship 11, huh? So the vast majority of people prefer the liberal ideology for relationships, and they wonder why, when tradition has evaporated, why is the dating scene so messed up? Why can't we find somebody we love? Oh my God, I don't want to. I'd rather be alone and go my own way. The women are the worst. Most of them are Democrats, but I don't care. Most men say it's harder for men to know how to behave on dates in the era of this movement. You don't know what's acceptable or how to approach a woman because she's one accusation away from ending your life. Gynocentrism confuses young guys on how to approach women. Women handling. Men are the reverse of good little boys. Women desire strong guys, despite what males were taught. Women don't want a man who doesn't know how to carry himself and has a weak, creepy attitude. It creeps her out. We're told you can't approach women overtly. Traditional masculinity is toxic. Everything known traditionally as being a man and a real man is evil in society today. Now you have to approach a woman essentially like a woman, or don't approach her at all. If you don't have the suave, slick tongue to get a girl under your spell wrapped around your finger, if you don't have insane charisma to make women laugh, if you don't have these insane attributes that make women like magnetized to you in some way aside from money and material status, then dude, you are playing potentially with fire depending on where you live, and it can all get turned on its head depending on what you say and what you do. Most view sex on a first date and open relationships as taboo, but that wasn't my experience when I was dating, especially on college campuses, especially if you were good at getting women. Premarital sex is generally accepted, but sex on a first date and open relationships are more controversial. Few say they would ghost someone, but we hear all the time about women they dated who pumped and dumped them, and then ghosted them the next day. They'll probably just say, hey, no longer interested via text, and the dude has 10 other women lined up. Single women and men give different reasons for difficulty finding people to date. Yes, the one for women is obvious, their standards are astronomical, and that man doesn't exist, and if he does, you'll have to share him with all the other women in your community that is vying for him. Not a surprise, roughly 1 in 10 partnered adults met online. 13 through work, or 31 through friends or family, your social net 13 through work, 25 through school, so the school or online makes up the majority, and again these are old numbers, so online has just increased. Unknown, I want to discover why half of the single adults and most single women aren't dating. Fully half of the single individuals aren't seeking a relationship or dates. Of those who are, half are open to a serious relationship or casual dates. Single men are more likely to be dating than single women. 6-4. This gender gap is most apparent among older singles. Older women have a harder time going on dates than men, so they give up. It's not like when you were 20 and men were falling over themselves to get at you. Now you're whistling in the wind and nobody's answering your door. Both genders are having trouble dating nowadays because we've lost our sense of gender norms and traditions. Nobody knows what it means to be a man or a woman. Some differences include women chasing after unattainable men and having insane standards, essentially pigeonholing themselves into a life of unhappiness, and men suffering from global competition. Where women have access to all these men and you're relegated to the quote 80% that doesn't exist. You may be a fine man to be married to and make good money, but the woman you're after is sexier. You have to find women who are traditionally minded, unplugged from social media, and not slaves to Western thinking. Sadly, this is what we're churning out as broken people whose self-esteem is tied to material things. Men and women, we're in trouble. Studies show that men can be happy and often are alone, but women can't, since they have a strong propensity for children, which requires them to have a man for provisioning.